It's my absolute pleasure to introduce the Africa section for the conference. We have a number of speakers from the continent and really bring some great insights and stories to the section. We're going to start with Yasir Ahmed, who is based down in South Africa, the Western Cape Department of Transport. Yasir Ahmed is a registered civil engineer and a graduate at the University of Cape Town, South Africa. And over the last 30 years, he has been involved in major transportation, both in public and private sectors. He holds the position as the Chief Director of the government's motor transport trading entity in the Western Cape Department of Transport and Public Works of South Africa. Today, he'll be sharing the story of how government motor transport has embarked on a journey to transform themselves from a fleet management business to an entity that wants to be shaping the future mobility in Africa. This ambitious strategy has placed design thinking at the core of creating this new culture. And I think it's very much part of our theme is trying to understand how we land human-centered design thinking in the government space. And so this will be a great opportunity to really get into the nuts and bolts of how it is being rolled out and enacted in a government environment. So Yasir, I'll hand over to you. Looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Richard, and good morning from South Africa to everybody. Richard, I'm going to jump straight in. This has been a very exciting journey, and there's a lot that I would like to cover in a very short space of time. Really sharing the journey of this trading entity in the Western Cape government at the tip of Africa, and some of the lessons that we've learned over the last couple of years, over the last 2 years, effectively, in applying design thinking to what it is that we want to achieve in this trading entity of ours. Just a quick introduction to GMT, Government Motor Transport. We've got a team of 193 people, diverse, young, old, experienced, new graduates, but all very excited about this journey that we are on. We're responsible for a fleet of about 5,600 vehicles, changing, of course, on a daily basis. We have currently 28 national and provincial government clients looking to expand also into the private sector. And there's a lot of interest from the private sector based on the exciting journey that we are on. Our budget as a trading entity is 1.559 billion South African rands. That's about $100 million. And we had a small surplus last year of 159 million rand. And that's about $15 million or $10 million. We strive to break even, but with the technology that we've introduced, there are exciting opportunities that we simply have to pursue. So most of our clients are definitely government. This is our journey towards what we've termed the future African mobility. And we started this journey to reimagine what GMT or government motor transport could be like or could look like by moving our culture to having GMT at the forefront of shaping future mobility for Africa. We started on the 27th of August 2019 in Stellenbosch. I remember the day very clearly, in a venue called the Melkstal, or the Milk Stable, and it will be forever etched in my memory and the team's memory. We challenged ourselves as a team. Firstly, it's a very diverse team. We challenged ourselves to think differently, to look at, firstly, bringing together the different individuals in the room into a cohesive team, working with the differences in approach by each of the individuals, and making the statement up front that we were willing to embrace uncertainty and willing to be vulnerable also, to explore in terms of this design thinking approach. At the same time, we wanted to have fun and wanted to be creative. And the session was facilitated for us by a team of professionals, Abbas Jamie and others from University of Cape Town, from the Sea Institute, and I'll come back to that team later on. Now you'll see in the photographs, these name tags, they're not just name tags. We went through an exercise prior to the strategic planning session of what we call the innovation code of having each one of our diverse team identify their approach to management and their approach to projects. So you have artists, engineers, athletes, and sages that were identified, and the differences in approach help us to, as a team, come together and understand the differences and leverage those differences to best effect. So at the start, there was doubt. Where are we going? But at the end, we decided, let's trust the process, let the process unfold. And for many of us, of course, it was the first time drawing. For me, certainly, it was the first time drawing in a long time. And I certainly can't draw. I'm a civil engineer. Gray is my favorite color. And so this was taking me out of my comfort zone. And for the entire team, it was just that, taking us out of our comfort zone, but having us think differently about a solution for the next 5 years and beyond. Our challenge on the first day of our session was to develop what we called our massive transformative purpose, and unlocking that 4-year-old within ourselves to move away from that thinking that I can't draw, to adopt a design thinking methodology that would allow us to unlock that inquisitive 4-year-old and to have fun in the process. And fun featured very, very strongly over the 2 days. So on the second day, we defined our massive transformative purpose after thinking differently, after looking at various approaches based on the individuals in the room and their different approaches. And our massive transformative purpose was developed, the focus that we set ourselves, the path that we set ourselves on for at least the next 5 years. And the massive transformative purpose itself needed to be and ended up being bigger than just GMT. We thought beyond GMT. What is it that we could do as a trading entity, not just for the trading entity, but for society as a whole in the Western Cape and South Africa? So we listened to all the voices. We had a wonderful interactive session, and we ended up with a truly collaborative effort that led to a massive transformative purpose that reads: innovative mobility solutions to co-create a better life for all. Each one of those words carefully chosen, each one having significant meanings to everyone in that room on that day, and everyone taking ownership of every single word. When we took back that massive transformative purpose to our broader team in GNT and in the Department of Transport and Public Works, which is responsible for the trading entity, 95% of our staff were either excited about this new path that we were embarking on, or they felt ownership of the massive transformative purpose. That also tied in nicely with the Department of Transport and Public Works, with their own journey that they embarked on at the same time, which led to a massive transformative purpose defined for the department being enabled communities leading dignified lives. The wording of these massive transformative purpose statements were chosen in a way that it would guide us on our path when we ask ourselves, when we're faced with difficult decisions, is this project the one that we should be embarking on? It needed to be linked back to the MTP. And if it did, that's the project that we would prioritize. And those are the projects that we would embark on. Now, once we had landed our MTP, the next steps were to put flesh on the bones of a strategy document that we would then take to Parliament, and that Parliament would adopt as the strategy for government motor transport for at least the next 5 years, 2020 to 2025. We're now, of course, in the second year of that 5-year strategic planning process. Now, during the planning process, we adopted a number of futures tools, scenario planning, and through, for instance, scenario planning as a tool, we developed 5 focus areas for GMT over the next 5 years. And those themes or focus areas being thought leadership, design thinking, collaboration, storytelling, and service delivery, all critical to GMT's delivery to our clients. and to the citizens of the province and the country. So we started to tackle this high level of entropy that existed in GMT at the time. The staff were very disillusioned. Over a number of years, staff felt neglected. We were understaffed. The team felt tired. And we needed to inject a new sense of excitement and also urgency into the team, because the timing turned out to be perfect, and I'll come back to that. We needed to change the culture within GMT. And I really think that we achieved that. We achieved that by having staff feel empowered to believe that they could contribute, that this massive transformative purpose belonged to them. It was developed by them, not for them. It was developed with their input. And we started to embed this futures culture within GMT. To take it to the next level, we established a task team, not just of the management committee of GMT, not myself and the directors and the deputy directors, but a cross-section from throughout GMT, from a level 5 admin officer to drivers, to technical assistants, all contributing towards this, this new way of thinking that would guide us on the path to a new GMT. So we developed with this team a new mission statement using further design thinking tools, and for instance, the future funnel, journey mapping, the double diamond, the SPICE model. And we got the team to think about the environment differently, not just GMT, thinking about the environment differently, thinking about challenges faced by clients, engaging with clients, understanding their needs, and how GMT as a service provider to them could help them to deliver on their mandates. So we shifted from responding to disruption to creating our own future as an entity, as an organization. And I want to thank this task team for the excellent work that they did in crafting the strategy that garnered excellent reviews from HOD to the ministers, the Premier, and members of Parliament as well. We introduced design thinking, formal design thinking training in the organization. Importantly, not making it about the tools, but about embracing a new way of thinking and doing for everyone in the organization. This new culture or this new approach by management and by all of the staff in GMT to how we serve our clients and our community. So over the next few months, we set about boosting staff morale, leveraging diversity and thinking beyond 5 years, but also gaining better understanding for design and futures thinking. We started to see a creative culture developing within GMT across the organization. We had jointly defined our purpose, and we had embedded that ownership of the 5 focus areas within the organization. And very importantly, we were having fun through this entire process. I'll mention the one example of one lady who had been with government for 30 years. That was, in fact, her 30th year in government, and I'm sure she won't mind me mentioning her name, Debbie Lloyd. Her journey took her on a completely different path. She decided to retire at that point. She realized that the artistic flair that she had, she wanted to explore that. And we wished her well, and she's doing great. She's thriving based on the tools that were embedded in GMT that she's now applying in her personal capacity. And those tools also led to the creativity within GMT coming out. Ian Adams, one of our architects, our business architects, drew up this graphic to portray our massive transformative purpose, showing all of the clients. My PA, who was sitting in the meeting at the time, thought about this and would normally have sat quietly, just taking minutes or taking notes. She came up with the idea of linking each one of those elements in the graphic to each of the 5 themes. And this is now what we've adopted as the graphic that would describe our massive transformative purpose to our staff and to our clients. So it really, we managed to unlock that creativity throughout the entire organization. Our strategy documents themselves are starting to look very differently from the normal, very practical government statutory documents to documents that now attract your attention. But it's not just about the sexy looking document. It's about the content, and the content conveying a message, a very powerful message that draws people in and want them to be part and understand the GMT journey. And then, of course, came lockdown. And I mentioned the timing of this, because the timing of us adopting this design thinking approach, this futures thinking approach, was perfect for us to respond and to be proactive for our clients when lockdown came. We said to ourselves, we are not going to let a good crisis go to waste. And with the lockdown came the opportunity for us as GMT to put into practice the new skills, new tools, to co-create innovative solutions with our clients and within GMT. We changed the culture, and the culture change was now embedded, and it was perfect timing to give effect during this difficult period for most of our clients and for GMT. The first step that we do in order to maintain the momentum that we had built up with communicating within GMT, we set up a WhatsApp group to communicate with all staff. I had to step out of my comfort zone, speak to staff via WhatsApp, prepare a weekly video to tell them what was happening. Many of them had to work from home, and to keep people connected as a team. This WhatsApp group and the videos that we prepared on a weekly basis made staff feel even more connected to GMT than what they were before, and that was the feedback that we were getting. We engaged with our clients. What was it that we as GMT could do for them to better deliver to the citizens in terms of their mandates? We helped, for instance, our Department of Health with the ambulances, with the sanitizing of the ambulances. We assisted our public transport branch with the technology that we had in GMT, thinking differently, thinking broader, and allowing our clients to use the technology, assisting them in using the technology in public transport, in ambulances, to transport nurses, for instance, to hospitals, nurses who had no access to public transport after the curfews that were imposed. That same technology and those same concepts were then further enhanced to a public transport system that is now being rolled out, and that's the Blue Dot system. When our ambulance drivers, through our engagement, indicated through their management that they were concerned about transporting patients who may be COVID positive, we assisted in putting up screens in the ambulances to divide the space between the driver and the patients at the back. To further enhance communication, Kobani Simandla, who is one of our CLOs, our client liaison officers, came up with a name for a newsletter that we now have within GMT, firstly to communicate internally and also with our clients and broader citizenry. Siya Pampili, which means we are moving forward. This newsletter gets input from our staff, so it's communicating internally and also getting the excitement going of what we're doing within GMT to our clients. We adopted the same approach, the design thinking approach, systems thinking approach, to one of our key projects, our flagship projects for GMT over the next year or two, introducing electric vehicles as part of our initiative to reduce carbon emissions. So we procured a number of electric vehicles to test our systems, our processes and technology, the BMW i3s. We did not adopt the normal approach of branding the vehicles with the Western Cape government logo. We actually ran a competition internally within GMT, and at the bottom left, you see the 3 GMT staff members who won that competition for the branding, which I think is excellent to draw attention to electric vehicles and the importance of electric vehicles as part of this broader strategy to reduce carbon emissions in the Western Cape and South Africa. The electric vehicle strategy also, by adopting a design thinking approach, also looked at how through the strategy we could unlock opportunities not just for GMT, but also for our client departments. So looking at, for instance, public transport, electric buses for public transport use, electric ambulances, converting our current ambulances with internal combustion engines to electric vehicles with battery repurposing as well. Also looking at a client, for instance, we have a client, the Cape Nature, also a trading entity, providing them with game viewing vehicles powered by electric batteries. Taking design thinking to the next level, we're now also embarking on through collaboration with between government, academia, and industry, the EV strategy is looking beyond technology, setting up an electric vehicle ecosystem, which will be discussed and debated at this Future Mobility Conference that GMT is going to be driving with the Department of Transport and Public Works, with the academic institutions in the Western Cape. And that is scheduled for towards the end of this year. And the electric vehicle strategy itself being launched in October, which is our transport month in South Africa. There's a lot of excitement around that, because also in February next year, of course, there will be the very first Formula E race in Cape Town, in the Western Cape, and the e-mobility festival, which that Formula E race will form part of. In conclusions, we have had so many lessons that we've learned. Firstly, the need to be citizen-centric has to be at the heart of everything that we do as government. I think Agnes Quick in the previous session said it beautifully. To design in government, you have to be a designer in complexity. And we've learned that very clearly in GMT, in the new approach that we've taken, placing the citizen at the center of what it is that we do, at the center of each one of our strategies. Leadership is critically important, from the HOD in Transport and Public Works, adopting this new approach, bringing on board the academic institution, bringing on board the C Institute to guide us through this process of changing the culture within GMT and the department. Leadership needs to create this space to get that strong buy-in from the top, with ownership from the bottom and throughout the organization. We need to embrace the unknown. We need to be prepared to let go of certainty while still respecting good governance. And that I am very glad to report, as GMT we have achieved. We've received our 9th consecutive clean audit from the Auditor General. So we've adopted a new approach while still maintaining good governance. And for that, I want to thank the GMT team for the new approach being adopted with a discipline still maintained. And lastly, it's not about the tools. It's about a way of thinking and a new culture that has been embedded in GMT. At the end of the day, we as management in GMT, we have to trust our people. We have to encourage them to brave. I didn't make a mistake there. It's not to be brave. We encourage them to brave, to take on something new and to challenge. And even if it means you fail and you fail forward, with the support of management, people are encouraged to do just that. So in conclusion, Chair, creativity has always existed in Africa. And I'm glad to see our colleagues from Egypt also in this session. Creativity has always been in Africa. It's about unlocking that creativity again. This has been, certainly has been a challenging year for everyone across the globe, and certainly for us in GMT and in the Western Cape. I'm very proud of the GMT management team and the entire GMT family and the department that we are part of. Our massive transformative purpose has been our North Star over this last 2 years, and it continues to be our North Star. We are on track to becoming leaders in driving innovative mobility solutions to co-create that better life for all. Thank you.